The Star Command exploration ship CE-01, located 4.2 million light-years from Earth, is voyaging through unknown space. The ship's sensors detect potential life forms on an unexplored planet, prompting Buzz Lightyear and Commander Alisha Hawthorne to investigate further. Despite being responsible for the initial analysis, they have to decide whether it's worth waking the rest of the crew from cryogenic sleep. During their exploration, the new planet surprises them with giant roots spreading around the ship, making the situation perilous. To strengthen the team, the commander brings along a space cadet, although Buzz is initially reluctant to work with a rookie. Eventually, he agrees to take the cadet along, seeing the joy in the young space cadet's eyes. Soon, while Lightyear and Hawthorne are distracted, the cadet gets captured by the roots that have entangled the ship. Not only that, but they also face an attack from mutated flying insects. As they escape back to the ship, they activate the invisibility of their suits, trying to buy some time. However, the effect doesn't last long, and they have to fight off the pursuing creatures. When they return to the ship, Buzz spots the cadet, Featheringhamstan, struggling outside and decides to help him. In the process, Buzz loses his gun and ends up getting captured. With Hawthorne's assistance, Buzz retrieves his weapon and frees himself and Featheringhamstan from the roots. Back on the ship's control room, Lightyear attempts to save his crew from the hostile planet, but an accident occurs during the emergency takeoff. The hypervelocity crystal, vital for their return, is destroyed. Feeling responsible for the disaster, Buzz asks his best friend and commander to arrest him, but she reassures him that they can still complete the mission. They plan to create a new crystal to power the ship, but the challenge lies in its instability, requiring several tests. Buzz volunteers to be the pilot, risking his life for the first stability test of the crystal. A year passes as the crew utilizes the planet's resources to form a new hyperspeed crystal. Meanwhile, they have to fend off attacks from hostile creatures, particularly giant roots that spread across the planet. Before Buzz's flight, an engineer hands him I.V.A.N, a space autopilot that will guide him during the mission on the XL-01 spacecraft. During the flight, as Buzz increases the speed to test crystal stability, it destabilizes at 80% hyperspeed, leading to an engine failure and a change in trajectory. Buzz's only chance of survival is to eject, but he devises a plan to detonate the fuel cell and regain control. Successfully, he makes it through the deceleration rings and completes the mission. Upon returning to the base, Buzz is surprised to discover that 4 long years have passed while he was away, due to time dilation caused by hyperspeed. While he aged only a few minutes, his colleagues aged years. Despite the revelations, Buzz remains determined to finish the mission. Finally, as Buzz returns from the journey, he is greeted with the news that his friend, Hawthorne, got engaged during the time he was away. Looking forward to meeting her future wife, Buzz realizes that traveling at hyperspeed takes him further into the future. Hawthorne suggests stopping the trips until they uncover more, but Lightyear insists on finishing the mission. After his eventful return, Buzz finds a robot cat named Socks in his room, sent to help him emotionally recover from his long journey. After talking for a little while, Lightyear decides to have his space food for dinner and then go straight to bed. That night, he has bad dreams about the day he left his partners stranded on the planet. The next morning, he wakes up determined to try again to complete his mission. Socks asks how he can help, and Buzz challenges him to find a way to stabilize the ship's fuel before they leave for another time travel. Before parting ways, Lightyear and Hawthorne say goodbye with their special phrase, "To infinity and beyond," once again. Unfortunately, Buzz fails, and the hyperspeed crystal doesn't stabilize this time. When he meets his commander again, she is pregnant. This situation continues for a few years. Every time Lightyear comes back from a trip, his friend has moved on in her life while he remains young, and his entire crew ages. On his last trip, Buzz finds only a recorded message from Hawthorne, where she tells him she's sick and might not be alive when he returns. She misses being a space ranger and traveling through space, especially Buzz. During the message, Alicia's granddaughter, Izzy, enters the room and says she wants to become a space ranger when she grows up. Buzz says his goodbyes to Hawthorne and is met by the new commander, Cal Burnside, who reveals that the crew has decided to give up the mission and settle on that planet. Buzz disagrees with this and remains hopeful to find a way to stabilize the crystal so everyone can go back to Earth. Back in his room, Socks shares the good news. The robot has spent the last 62 years studying and finally found a combination to stabilize the fuel, allowing humans to return home. 2 agents arrive to take the robot cat, but Buzz manages to escape with Socks's help. Together, they make a new hyperspeed crystal and head to the launch station. They sneak into the ship and start their next space journey, though 2 security agents try to stop them. Buzz, with Sox's help, successfully takes off, achieving 100 hyperspeed, and the fuel stays stable. This means the mission is complete, and everyone can return to Earth. Upon returning to base, Buzz finds the laser shield that Burnside planned to build but ends up making an emergency landing. While waiting for his crew to rescue him, he is surprised by the arrival of Izzy, wearing a strange costume. She reveals that they've been transported to Zurg's ship. Together, they escape, and Izzy explains what happened in Buzz's absence. Izzy takes Buzz to meet her team, and they devise a plan. They decide to use the hyperspeed crystal Buzz used on his last trip in the Star Command exploration ship CE-01. However, they need to destroy Zurg's ship to deactivate the protective barrier. The first stage of their mission is to eliminate the alien robots. As they get ready to start the operation, a robot comes to the site and captures Buzz. The creature uses a teleportation device to go back to the ship, but Izzy and Sox manage to stop it. The rest of the team tries to help, but they are all inexperienced cadets, as Lightyear finds out. Despite several attempts, no one can hit the harpoon into the device to prevent Buzz from being taken away. The robot is still standing and ready to fight. Lightyear tears off the creature's arm, and Mo shoots the monster's head. Even with their success in the battle, Buzz refuses to work with the inexperienced recruits and insists on doing the job alone. However, he needs a spaceship to invade Zurg's ship, and the nearest warehouse is 4 kilometers away. So, Izzy and the team offer to take him there. Soon after they leave, the robot gets up and follows them. When they reach the warehouse, Buzz asks the trio to go back to HQ because he plans to continue alone from there. Inside the warehouse, he finds his old spacesuits. Surprisingly, Izzy and her friends show up instead of following Buzz's request, and they decide to go with him. While inside, Mo accidentally triggers an alarm, causing hundreds of creatures to appear and chase them. They try to come up with a plan to escape and decide to use the suit's invisible mode to pass without being seen. Lightyear manages to fuel the ship before the invisibility mode expires, but the rest of the team is unaware of the time limit and gets stuck halfway. Now visible to the creatures, the trio is in danger again, and Mo activates the ejection lever. His suit turns into a giant raspberry, and they manage to make their way to the ship. Buzz starts the engine, and they escape from the place safely. During their flight, they encounter a Zurg ship and have to make an emergency landing to evade the enemy. While Buzz tries to repair the damaged ship, Izzy suggests going to the nearest facility to get the materials needed. They break into the facility, and Sox finds the required part. However, Mo accidentally activates the security system, trapping the group in capture cones. After a few minutes, they come up with the idea of working together to destroy the control panel, freeing themselves to continue the mission. But the destruction of the panel causes a big explosion, damaging part of the facility. As they run to safety, Buzz almost falls off a cliff, but the recruits save him once again. From that moment on, Lightyear starts to appreciate the importance of teamwork. While taking a break for a snack, Buzz notices something strange about the sandwich format, which has changed in the last 100 years. On their way back to the ship, they encounter a more menacing robot than before. Buzz asks his friends to return to the ship while he distracts the enemy. He tries to escape but gets cornered. Surprisingly, the robot knows Buzz's name and invites him to the ship instead of attacking. The recruits intervene and attack the robot, creating an escape route through the rock. The colossal robot calls for reinforcements to hunt down Buzz. Back at the ship, Sox says it will take 5 minutes to install the missing part. They try to hover to avoid the robots, but they realize the creatures can fly, and the chase continues. Mo and Darby fight the monsters while Buzz and Izzy navigate. After a while, Sox finishes repairing the ship, but Izzy makes a mistake and ejects the fuel. One of the robots steals it and teleports to the Zurg ship. Faced with this setback, Buzz gives up the mission and accepts defeat. Suddenly, the Alpha robot appears and captures Buzz, teleporting him to the enemy ship. There, Lightyear meets his older self, who is now 50 years older. They talk, and Sox, also older and damaged, asks the elder Buzz to explain his plan to the younger version. Lightyear discovers that his older self tested hyperspeed too, but upon his return, he was mistaken for a criminal and arrested by Commander Burnside. After escaping from a dangerous situation, Buzz traveled far into the future and discovered a world filled with incredible technologies. This made him realize that if the crystal could take him to the future, it might also help him go back in time to prevent his ship from meeting a terrible fate on a distant planet. He wanted to ensure the safety of his entire crew and be reunited with his dear friend. However, while testing the time travel abilities of the crystal, it got destroyed. To fix this, he needed fuel from his younger self. But the new boss knew that doing so would erase important events and connections in the future, affecting many lives, like Alicia meeting her wife and their granddaughter Izzy being born. So, the older Buzz was determined to carry out his plan, but the younger Buzz and the team came up with a plan to stop him. Izzy had a brilliant idea and convinced the team to board the ship. They activated a teleportation device and were sent to the third ship to intervene in the older Buzz's destructive plan. Socks managed to stop the older Buzz with a tranquilizer and helped the new Buzz escape. Meanwhile, Izzy and the team set out to find their friend. Lightyear encountered I.V.A.N and caused the ship to self-destruct. But the robot commander confronted Buzz, leading to a fierce battle. With Izzy and Socks's help, Buzz emerged victorious. They teleported back to the ship, but an accident caused an explosion, sending everyone into space. Buzz took the opportunity to destroy Zurg, who had stolen the crystal. As Buzz rushed to save his friend, Izzy took charge of stabilizing the ship during an emergency landing, and they succeeded, even though the crystal got destroyed. Later, Buzz and the team were taken back to the base by Commander Burnside and the guards. Surprisingly, the commander didn't want to imprison Lightyear. Instead, he offered him a fresh start by creating a new group of Space Rangers called the Universe Protection Division. However, Buzz chose to continue his space missions with his loyal friends who supported him throughout the whole ordeal.